Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's Family Search webinar. My name is Heidi, and hello, Catherine and Robbie. How is your day going?
Very well, thank you.
Doing good, thanks.
Well, we're so excited and we're all smiles because, boy, do we have a wonderful webinar in store for you. It's all about merging. And Catherine and Robbie are the experts at merging. And oh my goodness, Robbie and Catherine, can you believe it? We have 300 people that have already joined, and it's only
Oh,
been 23 seconds.
hey, thanks everybody.
Welcome, everyone. And please let us know where you're watching from. And again, today's topic is all about the merge experience. But before we get into the fun, I'm going to share with you a little bit of information of what makes Catherine and Robbie so great. So, Catherine is a writer, she's a teacher, and she's a family history enthusiast. Her specialty is mentoring new family historians and helping them find success and maybe even, I love this, avoid some of the mistakes that she's made. We
Of
all
the
make
many
mistakes.
mistakes.
I love that your part of your mission is I'm going to help others avoid mistakes too. That's just great, Catherine.
Thanks.
And it's funny. It's fun that you're just funny about that too. You're like, I'm going to make sure I make that one of my main objectives in life. Catherine believes that with the right audience, with the right guidance, everyone can learn to love and do family history. That is so neat, Catherine. Catherine, uh, that is so special. How long have you been doing family history for?
Wow, I would say I really got into it about 2005.
Okay. And what got you started?
Okay, this is I know I shouldn't take a long time on this, so I'll summarize it, like Inigo Montoya. I My mom was a big family historian, and what do you do when your parents pressure you to do something? You go the opposite direction. At least we did. Maybe nice, obedient children do that, but I have to admit, I kind of resisted it. I tried it a little. I didn't feel like I was making any progress, and so then my mom would say, try this," like, "Oh." And then around 2005, something just hit me, and I thought, "This is ridiculous. I need to figure out what's going on here and become involved in family history." The crazy thing is, Heidi and Robbie, once I did it, I discovered I loved it. I
Oh,
really, really
wow. What do
liked
you
it. I
know?
wish I'd done it earlier. So,
That's fantastic. And what has been the most interesting part that you've discovered about your family history as part of your journey?
oh wow. How long do you have? I
Give us
guess
a 30-second snapshot.
yeah. Just going to a higher level, I guess I'd have to say the most amazing discovery was that I actually liked it and that it was fulfilling. And working on my family, I guess there's been a lot of great discoveries. It's just such an amazing feeling to identify people that are part of your heritage.
Isn't it? And I love that what we teach here at Family Search and all that we talk about is making connections. And I love
Yeah.
that you enjoy teaching people how to do that. So we have so much in store for you today, everyone. And I look forward to learning myself. Catherine, thanks so much for sharing more about your journey. Robbie, now on to you. Tell us a little bit about what got you started on your family history journey. And then we're going to talk a little bit about your background.
Sure. And so I I started adding the family for my dad into Family Search, and I had tried to do it a few times, but then sometime in 2012, it finally clicked for me how to use SourceLinker, and it led to a lot of late nights, staying up
Oh, wow.
1 o'clock in the morning repeatedly,
Yeah.
and I was able to decided that I just needed to go work at Family Search. I was enjoying this so much. And so eventually they let me start working here.
That's so great. And you've been working for Family Search since 2014.
Yeah.
And to your point about late nights, Robbie says that he originally applied for the job as a way to treat his family history addiction. So now
Yes.
we understand. So, Robbie, what is it that you do at Family Search? Just tell us in a nutshell, what do you do as a product manager?
Yeah. Well, I started as an engineer. So I did engineering for maybe 9 or 10 years, but as a product manager, you decide what the engineers, what problems they should focus on. And one of the problems we've identified is, um, these bad merges and how they can negatively affect the experience in the tree. And so that's one of the problems we've been trying to solve.
Robbie, thank you so much. And I love talking to Family Search team members because it doesn't matter what your role is, everyone truly cares and wants to create the best experience for Family Search users and for everyone, no matter where you are in your family history journey or experience. That's great. So, Robbie, in his spare time when he's not doing family history, you play ultimate frisbee. That sounds like fun. And it looks like one of your pastimes is buying socks at Costco.
Yeah, good enough. So
Well, thank you, Robbie and Catherine, for being here today. Let's talk a little bit about what's ahead. So, the merge experience, and you said it yourself, Robbie. There's bad merges, and it's frustrating, right? But there's some changes that have happened recently, and we're so excited to hear more about that. And as part of what everyone that is watching, we've got more than 400 people already tuning in. You can expect to learn about how it is that this new experience makes it so much easier and how it is that this experience provides better guidance so that you can merge correctly. So if you're one of those people that are like, oh my goodness, like I'm frustrated because that's the wrong merge and it's problematic, these are the experts that are going to help you understand how to avoid that and how to resolve it when it does happen. Robbie and Catherine, we are so looking forward to what you have to share with us. And for those of you watching, oh my goodness, we're almost at 450 people. Make sure to ask questions, leave them in the comments. If Tell us yes or no, have you experienced a bad merge? Let us know in the comments because we want to make sure that this is a class that's providing value for you. So without further ado, let's turn the time over to Robbie and Catherine. Thank you.
Great. Heidi, thank you so much. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here. Get the presentation up. Okay, is that looking okay, you guys? I
yeah,
hope it is.
yeah,
So, well, hey, everybody, it is so good to have you with us today for this class. This is, like Heidi said, a super exciting topic. So let's look at what we've got on the schedule for today. First thing we're going to cover is just some basic concepts about duplicates and merging, just to help us all get on the same page. Then we're going to talk about a concept that changed the way I work in Family Tree. That's the concept of intended identity, and we'll talk about how it helps with merging. Then we'll briefly say why a new experience was necessary, and we'll end up with a walkthrough of this amazing new merge experience. Throughout the presentation today, we want to hear from you. So occasionally we're going to put questions up on the screen that we hope you will answer in the chat. So here's our first question. Tell us what your experience is with merging. You can either put ABC or you can actually type out the answer to the question. So do you fall in the category of little to none? Have you done maybe a few? You're getting started with it? Or would you say that you've done a lot, which would be 20 or more? Let us know in the chat. So I'm going to go ahead and advance to the next slide, but please do feel free to keep putting your answers in the chat. So let's talk about some basic concepts for duplicates and merging. As I'm sure most of you are aware, Family Tree is a shared tree. So it's not an individual tree. I don't have my own tree. You have your own tree. It's all one big tree that we're working on together. Well, the goal of this master tree, this shared tree, is to have one complete, accurate profile for each person who's lived on the earth, and to have those profiles linked to other profiles by correct relationships. So correct spouses are linked together, correct parents and children, and the ultimate goal is to document the human family. It's an ambitious goal, but I really believe that together we're going to be able to do this. So in a shared tree, of course, there's going to be some overlap. It just comes with the territory. So sometimes users are going to create duplicate profiles for the same human being, the same person. When that happens, these profiles need to be merged because remember, our goal is we only want one profile per human being. Correct merges are great. They clean up the tree, they reduce confusion, and they reduce duplicate effort. So if we have duplicates floating around in the tree, let's say that Robbie and I share the same great great grandfather. He creates a copy, I create a copy. We don't know that we've each created a copy. So then we start researching on these people and branching out and so forth. And it ends up we've just duplicated a bunch of effort. So merging those duplicates saves us that time and duplicate effort. But bad merges or incorrect merges, which means merging two profiles that are not for the same person, they actually cause a ton of problems. In fact, when I started working in Family Tree many years ago, I was convinced that duplication was the greatest problem because I ran into duplicates a lot and I knew that they, cause problems. But over the years, I've become convinced that bad merges are a bigger problems than duplicates. I'd rather have a couple of duplicates in the tree than a bad merge. Why would that be? Well, bad merges cause confusion. Let me give you an example. A little while ago, I went to a person on my tree and they showed us being christened in 1734, but they showed us being born in 1737. Not possible, right? So I looked at that and I'm like, okay, this can't be right, but I don't know what to do about it. And I had to dig into the changelog, took me time to fix it. So bad merges cause confusion through conflicting information. That conflicting information also can lead to incorrect hints. So, probably a lot of you have used those amazing hints that Family Search provides, both for historical records and for possible duplicates. Well, if the profile gets mangled with incorrect information, like a contradictory birth and christening, then the hints are likely to be wrong as well. Because Family Search, of course, uses the information on the profile page to generate the hint. What else could it use? And so if that information is bad, well, there's a chance then that the records and the hints, the record hints and the duplicates will be incorrect as well. And the trouble with that is, have you ever noticed that once a bad merge starts, it tends to snowball? It invites more bad merges on the badly merged person, and it invites bad merges on the family members because incorrect kids get added to a family, incorrect spouses get added, and then people come along and think that it's the profiles for somebody when it really started out for someone else, and it just snowballs into this big mess, which means it takes a lot of repair time because we have to get into the change log, figure out what went wrong, figure out how to repair it. Honestly, the best time to stop a bad merge is, of course, before it starts. So now let's go to another question. And this is not to put anybody on the spot. We would just love your honest response. I suspect whatever answer you pick, you're going to have a lot of company. So, how comfortable are you with merging? Extremely? Somewhat? Merging makes me nervous, or merging terrifies me. Which, if you feel that way, you've got good company. So let us know what your feeling is about merging, what your comfort level is. I'll leave that up for just a second. And we really appreciate your answers in the chat. It's just fun to get to know people better and to know your experience. Okay, so what is intended identity and how does it help with merging? Think of yourself creating a profile in Family Tree. Whenever you create a profile, you intend that profile to represent a certain human being. So, very simply, this is the intended identity. And identity is typically established through names, dates, places, and relationships. The intended identity of a profile in Family Tree is usually shown in the earliest changelog entries. What do I mean by that? So if this is a screenshot where I've opened up the changelog on a guy named Alan Lockwood. The changelog, in case you're not familiar with that, is just a list of all the changes that have been made to this profile since it entered the Family Tree system. So either it was imported from a previous system or or someone created it within this system. And from the time that it's entered into the system, Family Search tracks the changes which have been made to it. So in this, to see the intended identity, the original identity of this person or any person in a changelog, you scroll clear to the bottom of the changelog because changes are shown in reverse chronological order. So I've scrolled to the bottom of this changelog and I see that when this profile was created, the guy was named Alan Lockwood. He was christened on this date in Derbyshire, and he has these parents. So this information is sufficient to tell me what human being this profile is about. And if later on I see information that contradicts this, that indicates that I probably need to do some cleanup, and it may even indicate that a bad merge has been done. So just to summarize, to see the original intended identity of a profile, open the changelog, scroll to the bottom, and look at the very earliest information that was entered. So, what is the importance of intended identity? If you think about yourself working in, say, a personal tree on Ancestry or in a software program like Family Tree Maker, you know who the person is for, right? So what's the big deal about intended identity? I put the person in the tree, I know who it is. But in a shared tree, the apparent identity on the profile actually could have been changed from the original identity through bad merges, incorrect sources, wrong relationships, a combination of all three. So when we're trying to do merges, intended identity gives us a baseline or a trustworthy point of comparison so that we can be confident that we're merging correctly. And if we look at a profile that has one original identity, like the one I just mentioned, it was for a guy named Francis Bescaby with a christening date that obviously could not be it didn't fit with the birth date because births don't happen after christenings. So when we see a problem like that, then we know, okay, we've got to find out the original identity, clean up the record to match the original identity, and then we can proceed with any merges, again, based on that initial true, correct, original identity that the profile was meant to be for. Here is a tip. Sometimes you might need to use the intended identity in the changelog to find just a little more information to determine if two profiles ought to be merged. Here's an example. So two profiles might have the same name, but what if one has birth information and the other one doesn't? What if one profile has parents and siblings and the other only has spouses and children? So, in other words, you've got two profiles that have the same name, but none of the information is in common. Let's look at an example to illustrate that. So, we're going back to our friend Alan Lockwood. Alan Lockwood is not a particularly uncommon name in this family. Have you noticed in your families, like they choose their favorite names and they'll repeat names over and over? So the Lockwood family has a lot of Allens. This first Alan Lockwood is the son of Samuel and Sarah. He's christened in 1841 in Derbyshire. This other guy, here's another profile, same name, Alan Lockwood. His wife is Mary Nuttall. He has a daughter named Elizabeth who was christened in 1870, also in Derbyshire. Are these guys the same? Well, the truth is, we don't have enough information to tell. It's reasonable, right? They could be the same, like they aren't. This guy christened in 1841, if the daughter was born in 1950, we'd say, nope, can't possibly be the same. But it's reasonable for a guy that was born in 1841 to be having a child in 1870. But the thing is, we don't have the proof. And not having that proof, jumping to conclusions just based on the name, is one of the biggest causes of bad merges. So what would we need to do in a case like this? Well, we would need to find out if the son of Samuel and Sarah is the same guy who married Mary Nuttall. Now, this is not a webinar on research, so I'll just say briefly, a possibility for doing this would be to look on the marriage record of Alan and Mary. If that marriage record showed that the father was Fred, that Alan's father was Fred, we'd go, these guys can't be the same. But suppose it showed that the dad is Samuel. Suppose that the occupation on the marriage record matched the occupation of Samuel on the christening record. Then we'd say, okay, there is evidence that these two guys are the same because the father's information matches. So if you don't have enough information, just take a little time and find enough information to be confident that those two profiles really do represent the same human being. If you would like to learn more about intended identity, there is a YouTube video, and we'll post a link in the chat to this slide deck. It's just in Google Drive, and so anybody can access it. Here's the link, and then also I suspect that this link will be put in the chat as well. So I think that's all we need to say about intended identity. And now let's go to our next question. Have you tried the new merge experience? A, yes, I only use the new one now. B is I tried it, but gosh, I wasn't comfortable with it, so I went back to the old one. Or C is I haven't tried it yet. So we'll give you a minute to put the answers to those questions in the chat. But in the meantime, Robbie, is there anything that you'd like to add to what we've said so far?
Yeah, I'm wondering if you could just clarify a little bit about intended identity for our listeners. So
Yeah.
why is it a bad practice to just repurpose somebody?
Oh, very good question. So, and people sometimes do that. So, again, this is the difference between, this is my opinion. So, this is the difference between working in a personal tree and working in a shared tree. If you change somebody's identity, if you repurpose them in your own tree, nobody cares, right? You know who it is. You've changed the identity. It's not going to impact any other Family Search users. But Robbie, let's suppose that you put in your second great grandfather. I'm just going to call him John Parker. I don't know if that's his name, but for the sake of this example, you put him in and call him John Parker, and you are very careful. You're building your tree. You found his spouse. You found his kids. I come along and I'm like, I don't want that to be John Parker. I want that to be my grandfather, Aminadab Quabell, because I don't want to take the trouble to create a new record. I'm just going to hijack Robbie's and I'm going to change it to be my person. Aminadab Quabell is probably a stretch, but suppose I had a relative named John Parker and I decided I just wanted to take over yours, or I didn't know that they were different. So I started building on yours and I attached a wrong spouse, I attached wrong kids. I took away some of the kids that you had put there because I thought, oh, those aren't the kids of my John Parker. How would you feel if you came back to that like 3 weeks after you built this beautiful profile?
Oh yeah, I'd say that's not my grandfather anymore.
Yeah.
It's
It, and I've heard people go, "What happened to all my work? I spent hours on this." So in a shared tree, to sum it up, in a shared tree, I feel like if we're going to collaborate effectively with other people, we have to respect the work that they've done. So when I come to your profile for John Parker, I don't just grab it and change it and put it in my family line. I respect what you've done and I do the necessary research to find my own John Parker. Does that help, Robbie?
that's great, and I can see maybe a lot of people would not go just purposely repurpose somebody, but
Right.
when bad merges happen, they are effectively repurposing somebody.
Yeah, exactly. Like the Francis Besceby example where he ends up with this conflicting information and we don't know who he is. And
Perfect.
and he actually did get repurposed into wrong families and stuff. So
Cool.
anyway.
Thanks.
Anything else, Robbie, before we go on?
That's good.
Okay, let's move to our next section. Why did we need a new merge experience? Well, does this screen look familiar to any of you? I'm guessing it does. It's the old merge experience, and it was good. We used this for years. It was very helpful in cleaning up duplicate profiles, but there definitely was room for improvement. This old experience provided just minimum guidance. For example, if a lot of merges had been done, it might alert you to that and say, hey, be careful, this profile's already been merged a lot. Or I remember one time it said, hey, your birth dates of the two people are over 3 years apart, so you might want to look at that. So it did provide some minimum guidance, but it wasn't extensive, and it actually wasn't enough to stop a lot of bad merges. The experience was long. Do you guys remember on that? You had to wade through 3 pages, and the first page and the second were actually very similar. So especially new users would look at that and go, "Didn't I already do this? What's up with this? I don't know what I'm looking at." Another huge disadvantage of the old experience was it actually allowed people to make changes during the merge. Merging is already complicated enough that to make changes during the merge led to many mistakes. So the people would disconnect relatives that shouldn't have been disconnected. They would fail to bring over sources that should have been brought over. Just a lot of problems happened when people were making changes in addition to trying to make sure that the merge was correct. And this was one of my pet peeves, I have to tell you. Those of you on the call who have maybe attended some of my other classes know that this just drove me crazy. There were canned reason statements that were just about always misused. So one of them said basically everything matches. Almost every time I saw people use that statement, everything didn't match. In fact, sometimes there were significant differences. There was another one that said, everything sort of matches. I'm paraphrasing, obviously. Everything sort of matches, but there were some minor conflicts. I would say that every time except twice I can think of when I saw that merge reason statement used, the merge was bad. The minor conflicts ended up to be proof that the two people were not the same and shouldn't have been merged. So the canned reason statements were a big problem that actually seemed to subconsciously encourage people to do bad merges. So, long story short, bad merges definitely were an ongoing problem in the system. And thanks to Robbie and other talented people at Family Search, they recognized this and they've taken steps to reduce the number of bad merges. So, the new merge experience has significant improvements to help us reduce bad merges in the system. So let's go ahead and look at this amazing new experience. I've divided it into 2 portions. First of all, we'll talk about what has changed in the layout. In other words, what the screen looks like, how the screen elements are organized, and then we'll actually talk about the process. So the new layout, 4 key improvements that we're going to touch on today. First of all, it's only 1 page. It's so much simpler and less intimidating. You can easily compare the profiles. They stay visible side by side. In the old experience, when you got to the third screen, you could not see the side by side comparison anymore. In the new merge experience, you can see it up till the very end. You get to preview the survivor. In other words, what will this profile look like if I proceed with the merge? And you get to see it. And if you make changes to while you're trying to sort things out, if you change, like pick a different birth date, that is reflected in real time on the preview of the survivor. It's amazing. And then finally, you've got the ability to align family members. This is actually one of the things I remember hearing the most complaints about, that you couldn't put parents across from each other or siblings across from each other. And people would go, it's so confusing and it's taking up so much room. Why can't we just compare them? Well, the new merge experience, Family Search heard those complaints and changed the new experience. So we have the ability. Let's take a quick look at the layout. So we've got three columns side by side for easy comparison. The one on the left is the person who will be deleted, or really it's more accurate to say they're archived, but the terminology on the screen is deleted. The reason I say they're archived is if you know the PID, or if the ID number, or if you find them in the changelog, you can look at the deleted record. And sometimes that's helpful if you're undoing a bad merge. But anyway, suffice it to be said, the person to be deleted or archived is shown on the far left with all their current information. Next column is the survivor as they currently look. So it's before any changes that could be done through the merge. And then in the last column, you see what the survivor would look like post-merge or after the merge. Here is the thing that I was so excited about. Now you've got your option to either group by family or group by relationships. So if you group by family, here we've got the family of person number, let's see, I can't read those PIDs, they're too small. Let's see, this is the family. Oh, it's in the column. Duh, I'm laughing at myself. So these parents are currently the parents of this guy, and they're shown on their own row. These parents are currently the parents of this guy, and they are shown on a separate row. Now, that can be helpful, right? It can be helpful to see things in family groups, but sometimes you want to compare apples to apples. I want to see how this John Gunton compares to this one, and this Jane to this Jane. So by clicking group by relationships, you can look at like relationships across from each other. And again, both of these views are helpful, and you just can easily switch back and forth between the views to suit your purposes. Okay, let's talk about the new process. This is also so amazing. I just can't give enough gratitude and kudos to everybody at Family Search, Robbie and the others who made this merge experience possible. So here are the key improvements. You get a recommendation on whether you should merge or not, extremely helpful. Inconsistencies are highlighted, so you don't just see maybe a random message at the beginning like I commented on about the old merge experience, but instead, as you look at the screen, those inconsistencies have messages about them, and we're going to see an example of that in a minute. Changes can no longer be made during the merge. Hallelujah! This will stop people from disconnecting family members that shouldn't be disconnected, from disconnecting sources that should have stayed there. Again, it's challenging enough to do a good job on a merge without worrying about disconnecting information during the middle of the merge. And the canned reason statements are gone. No more canned reason statements. They've been replaced by a user-friendly checklist. So let's take a look at this. At the top of the merge screen now, there is always going to be a recommendation on whether or not the merge should be done. There are 4 possible recommendations, and they're based on the level of consistency between the 2 profiles. So let's look at what you will see as you're merging. The first level is no obvious problem. So there's a very high level of consistency. And in that case, you see a message that says, yeah, green check mark, you can merge the duplicates. But even so, thank goodness, Family Search has put a message, hey, still, before merging, please do take a look at these and just be sure that they represent the same person. The next level, we're kind of going down in consistency. The next level of a lack of consistency, I guess we could say, is that there may be one or more inconsistencies. In that case, you'll see this message. Hey, this is a potential merge, but these 2 profiles have some inconsistencies, and you really want to check those out before you do the merge to be confident that these 2 profiles really do represent the same human being. Then we run into the point where we've got major inconsistencies. And in that case, Family Search will say, you know what? this merge is not recommended. There's just too many differences between these two profiles, and very likely they're not the same person. Now, is it possible they are the same person? Sure. But then you could back out of the merge, clean up those profiles because maybe they're messed up because of previous bad merges, and that's why there's major inconsistencies. Well, you can clean up the profiles, undo any bad merges, then restart this merge, and the recommendation will have changed if the two people have a higher level of consistency. And then the last one is just, hey, this merge, this is not going to happen. Family Search says we're not going to let you merge. And there's certain circumstances where Family Search can say these two people, these two profiles cannot possibly be for the same person. So therefore, we're not going to allow this merge. Here's an example. A parent cannot be merged with his or her child. So a parent and a child are just very simply never going to be the same human being. It's not biologically possible. So, but there are a lot of other reasons, and Family Search, when it tells you that you're unable to merge, it will list the specific reason. So if you want to see a full list of the reason that merges can't be done, there's a knowledge base article on it, and this link will take you to that knowledge base article. Why do merges fail in Family Tree? Robbie, any comments at this point?
I think you're doing great.
Oh, thank you. Okay, let's look at the next part of the new process. As I said, we don't have the option anymore to make changes during the merge, which is so good for avoiding problems. So everything is transferred to the survivor unless there's a conflict. If there's a conflict, you get to choose which information to keep. So for instance, here, Alan Lockwood, same name, no conflict. The name on the survivor is selected. If the information is different here, as this birth information is different, then you get to choose. Again, Family Search chooses the information on the survivor. They don't analyze this information to say, hey, we think this one's better than this one. No, they just automatically select the information on the survivor if there's a conflict. But you can select this, you can override that. So this information actually isn't better birth information in this particular example, but suppose it was, then I would just click this option button and immediately the information would change over here on the survivor preview. And then if there's no conflict, the information is automatically transferred and you don't have the option to unselect it or deselect it. Notice that this option button is grayed out. So I can't say, I don't want the christening and take it off. Family Search says, hey, this christening's there for a reason and we're going to leave it there. And if for some reason you feel that it's wrong, clean it up either before or after the merge.
And Catherine,
Yeah.
I'll just comment that as we made that decision about a merge now brings everything with it. One of the reasons we did that is that even though it was convenient for some people to be able to do cleanup as part of a merge, it allowed some users to just totally mess somebody up. Like this, maybe they were trying to repurpose the individual, as part of the merge, and so it was doing a lot more damage than good. And so there's a best practice of cleaning up. Oh, there you have it right there before the merge. So.
Yeah, Robbie, that's been my experience too, is that when people make changes during a merge, it's just only like even experts. So experts could get away with it probably, but for the rest of us, for the new users, for people that are just learning to merge, it's too much to deal with all at one time to be making changes and doing the merge. So yeah, as you said, and as it says on the screen, the best practice is to make the corrections before the merge, because guess what? You may have had this experience, everybody, that as you go back and you clean up that profile, you realize, oh my goodness, these people are not the same. These two profiles should not have been merged. And so, yeah, clean up the profiles before doing the merge, and then the merge is more likely to be correct. Thanks, Robbie, for that
Catherine
great input. Yes, Heidi.
and Robbie, I just want to chime in because we have a couple of questions and they're very much in alignment with your description of like, oh my goodness, we didn't realize what was going on or how do we do this? And These are such juicy questions. One
Awesome.
of them is there if there are different spelling or dates in the names, but you think they are the same person, is it okay to merge them?
Though that is a really good question. So it depends on the time period to an extent, just because generally speaking, in most parts of the world, in the 1800s and earlier, and even in the early 1900s, people didn't care about spelling. A lot of my ancestors were illiterate. They never had a chance to have an education. So when they showed up to have a child christened or they went to get married, they would say their name, like Bescaby, to the person who was writing down the record, but the person would write it however they thought it sounded. And so spellings weren't standard. So a difference in spelling may not be enough, but sometimes it is. So really what you want to do, and speaking to the difference in dates, what you really want to do is go to historical records and find evidence that those two people are the same. And as you look at the historical records, you may see a little fluctuation in the birth dates and the spelling of the name. But if
Mm,
the places are consistent and the relatives are all consistent, even with that little bit of fluctuation, you can still be confident. But again, I would research all that before the merge and then clean up the records so that when you merge, it's just smooth sailing.
thank
Does
you for
that
that.
help? Yeah.
That does help. We have more questions. Would you like to jump into them?
Yeah, I would love to. That sounds
Okay,
awesome.
so someone is asking, what about standardizing during merges? Can that be done?
So the sense in which it could be done is if that there's a non-standard date and a standard date, you could pick the standard one. But you can't actually edit during a merge. So if you see a non-standard date, you can't edit it during the merge to standardize it. Good question.
Okay, we've got plenty of questions coming in. And for those of you that are watching, we have almost 700 people. Can you imagine?
Yes. Oh,
Please continue to drop your questions in the comments. That's what we're here for. And if we don't get to them, we will always get to them after the chat or excuse me, after the live stream. Okay, so someone is asking, how do I get to the change log
oh,
behind
very good
us?
question. So is it okay if I switch to another screen? I
Oh, please
actually
do, yes. And in the
brought up
meantime, I'll
Family
post
Search.
this at the bottom so we can remember what question is being asked.
Great, thank you.
Thank
So
you.
I actually had a merge up just in case we needed to do that, but let me back out of this. And this, of course, is on the web version, and I don't have a way of demonstrating it on the mobile version. But if you're using the website, you scroll. So over here on the right-hand side, there's a panel. On the left, you've got all the information about the
We're
person.
we're
I
Yeah.
seeing
think
your
we're not seeing the
question.
right screen, Catherine.
Oh,
Sorry.
okay. Oh, okay, share this tab instead. I apologize. Let me click that,
There
and
you
now
go. Now we see it.
okay.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. I appreciate that. So I am on the profile of a guy named John Hattersley. I am viewing this in a web browser, so it's gonna be slightly different on your mobile device, but there's still a way to do it. Robbie, do you know off the top of your head how to find the changelog on a mobile device? I don't.
Oh, no, not
Okay, but maybe somebody could put that in the chat. Those of you who are watching today, if you know how to get to the changelog on a mobile device, could you please post that in the chat? But the way you do it in the web browser is you bring up the profile and then you scroll down, and on the right-hand side, there are a bunch of tools, and a bunch of sections is probably a better word, with tools in them. And one of the sections is called Latest Changes. It shows the 3 most recent changes made to this person, but if you want to see all the changes, you click Show All, and this takes you into what is called the changelog. And it even says it up here in the URL. It says changelog. And you might be familiar with this from other websites. There's many websites that track changes, and changelog is a kind of a generic term for just tracking all the changes made to a record online, or any record actually. So I'll go back to John Hattersley. Just once again, you scroll down to the section called Latest Changes and then click Show All.
Catherine, thanks so much for showing us. I know
You're
that a lot of us are
welcome.
visual learners. We
Me
have a
too.
similar question that came in,
Yeah.
and the question is, are research notes merged too?
Yes. They are. If you're talking about the notes on the profile, they are also brought over. Yeah, good question.
Okay, more questions. We're
Awesome.
on
I
a
love it.
roll.
Questions are how we learn, right? So,
Okay, so this maybe it's a question for you, Anne or Robbie.
okay.
It says, this is Gary who asked, perhaps a multi-person look ahead could be added to detect problems before you start. Any thoughts with that type of a suggestion?
That's a Robbie question.
Okay.
Um, so I don't know if I'll be answering the question right, but um, there is a problem as you start to merge people in a family. You eventually get to a point where you say, "Oh no, what have I done?" You realize that you're not there. So that's an interesting suggestion. One thing that we are considering is to limit the scope of the problem space that you're trying to solve. That we require that each of the two people you're merging only have two biological parents each. So
I
since
like that.
that will hopefully kind of uh, rec- drive the behavior of cleaning up beforehand, cleaning up the profiles beforehand, and you don't end up three merges in realizing that you're part of a big mistake. So yeah.
Love
Thank
it.
you for answering that. One more question, and then I'll continue to sift through everybody's comments. So the next question is, can you unmerge?
Yes. That's the short answer. And the longer answer, how are we on time?
I think we're
Because
okay.
okay, so just I there's actually a class. So I teach classes for the BYU Library Family History Center, and we actually have a two-part series on merging and a two-part series on cleaning up bad merges. So if you're interested in that, you can go to our YouTube channel, just search for BYU Library Family History Center, and search for presentations by Catherine Grant, and you'll find like one's called Cleaning Up Sticky Problems, uh, and recognizing problems. I think you'll recognize them, but actually I could put those in the chat at the end
Yes,
if that would
Catherine, that
help.
sounds
Put
great. If you
links
share
to
the
the
link with us, we
chat.
can share it with all of you that are watching. Thank you.
Awesome. But to briefly answer the question, and then you could get more detail from these videos. When you merge somebody in Family Tree, the information is combined as we've been talking about. If no changes have been made since the merge was done, there's an unmerge option in you go into the change log and you click merge analysis. Robbie, it's still that way, right? The
Gotcha.
interface? Okay, thanks. So you go into the change log, you find the merge, you click merge analysis, then there's an undo merge button. If no changes have been made, Family Search goes, hey, we're just going to undo this merge for you. No harm, no foul. Both profiles go back exactly the way they were before the merge. But if changes have been made since the merge, Family Search says, ugh, you've changed the birth date, you've added a parent, you've added 3 children, and you've added 5 sources. And now you want to unmerge. So we can't tell all those changes. Do they go to person A? Do they go to person B? Maybe it's a big mess and they don't apply to either. And so in that case, you can't technically unmerge. In other words, the unmerge button isn't available. You can't click it. It shows it's grayed out, but you can't click it. Instead, you have to go to the deleted person's profile and click Restore Person. The trick about that is when you restore a deleted person, they go back to the way they were before the merge, but the
Mm.
survivor doesn't. The survivor has all those changes that were made after the merge, so you have to go in and clean them up manually. So that's the short version. If you want the longer one, again, watch the video.
We appreciate that short version. And then one more question, which I think a lot of resonates with a lot of people that see repeated erroneous merges. I'm going to pop it up on the screen. Can we block a person on the tree from repeated erroneous merges based solely on things like a newspaper article?
Unfortunately, we don't have the ability to do that, and I say unfortunately advisedly. And Robbie, in a minute, maybe you can comment on this too. It's unfortunate from the standpoint that, yeah, we'd like to stop bad merges, but on the other hand, this is a collaborative tree and it's sheer genius. There's no way we could build a tree of the human family unless we all collaborate. So in my mind, the answer is not so much to block the person as to educate them. And so there's a couple of methods that you can use. One is Family Search recommends contacting them. So my sister did this and she found a bad merge. And the thing is when you contact them, don't be mean. Don't be rude to them or say, "What the heck were you thinking?" Instead, so to the example of my sister, she sent a really nice email, or I think it was a message in the Family Search messaging system, and just very kindly said, "Hey, I saw that you did the merge on this person. I don't think it's correct for these reasons.
Mm.
Are you okay with me undoing it?" Now you don't have to ask people, but my sister was just very gracious about this. And the person wrote back and said, "Oh my gosh, I feel so bad. I'm so sorry. Yes, by all means." And then here's the thing, this was apparently a new user. They said, "Family Search told me to do the merge." Well, what they meant was Family Search had suggested a possible duplicate, but being a new user, they just jumped to the conclusion that Family Search was saying, yes, this should be merged. And in this case, it turned out that it shouldn't be. So contacting the person is an option. Again, please be
Yeah.
kind to them. But another option is to um, be responsible for educating. Like we can be responsible to educate ourselves, but we could also graciously contact the person and say, "Hey, if you'd like to learn more about merging, here's a video you can watch," or whatever. And so you could do that to the person who made the bad merge, but we can also do it with each other. Like suppose that you're
Mm.
in a family history user group or something, and you can say, "Hey, folks, let's have a meeting on doing good merges and we'll share best practices," or whatever. So I really think education is the key to stopping bad merges.
I'll throw one more thing that you can do
Yeah.
if the other user happens to just feel strongly that this needs to be merged, is you can build out your person to be more thoroughly obviously one person and their person to be more thoroughly obviously a different person. So further research on those people makes it more clear than just arguing when there's sparse facts.
That's a really good point. And then one final thing, Robbie, that actually what you said sparked in me. If you try your best to collaborate with the person and they just refuse and they really are damaging your tree, then there's a button over on the right-hand side, in that panel we looked at that says report abuse. I think that's the wording, isn't it, Robbie? Report abuse.
That sounds right.
And so you can click that, but I know from experience, actually not my own experience, but a friend said they did report abuse to Family Search, and Family Search said, "Did you try at least to work it out?" So kudos to Family Search for that approach. So they're going to want you to at least try to work it out. But if the person, like one of my friends, the person wrote back and swore at him in the thing. So if
Oh
a person,
no.
yeah, right? It's very rare, but it did happen to my
Right.
friend once. And so if you experience that kind of behavior and you try your best and they don't respond, then yeah, you can report abuse.
Thank you, Catherine, Robbie, for
Yeah.
your insights. And I can tell you, like, I know someone asked me, "Are you sure about this one person?" I was like, "Yeah, and this is the source." So the more robust you make it, the better. Guys, everyone, thank you so much for your questions. This has been so great to just see your comments. And Catherine, you asked, "What is the experience like on mobile?" We have so many Family Search merge experts watching this webinar, and they're helping us out. They're supporting us. So thank you, everyone. Keep those questions coming.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you, you guys. I'll have to look at my phone afterwards and see where the changelog is because I know I've seen it on my phone before. I just can't remember how I got to it. So, okay, let's move on to the next section. Talk about improved guidance. So, as I mentioned, the old experience might occasionally put a message at the top of the first page. The new experience has kind of two categories of guidance. If the inconsistency is worth looking at but not severe, like not as serious, you'll see these yellow boxes and it will tell you what the problem is. Here, the first names are different. Here, we've got birth dates that are not the same. If the issues are more serious, then we'll see red boxes and we'll also see explanations. And these red boxes are a lot more serious where it's like, you know, these these inconsistencies are so serious that there's a very good chance that these two profiles do not represent the same person. So in this case, you really want to be careful before doing the merge. And another thing I wanted to mention, for especially for people who may be frustrated with the change that you can't with the change to the merge experience, that you can't edit things during the merge. I discovered that there was one case where I really knew, I'd done my research and I knew the two people were the same, but I got in and said, oh my gosh, I forgot to clean this one thing up. Well, I opened up the profile. So on a PC, you can hold down your control key on your keyboard and click the name, and it will open up their profile in a second tab. I believe if you're using a Mac, it will be command click, but on a PC, control click. And so I was able to go over to the other tab and then make the change that I needed to make to clean it up. Then when I went back to the merge screen was intelligent enough to know that a change had been made to the profile, and it refreshed and showed the change that I had made. So I think that's a lot better approach. I normally don't do that. I really do clean them up beforehand. But if you see something, you're like, oh, I forgot to do that, but I know the merge is right. I'm just going to quickly clean it up. Then just open another tab for that profile, make the correction, and it will be reflected on the merge screen. But back to this one. Sorry, I had forgotten to say that. I meant to say that earlier. Back to this one. These two people probably shouldn't be merged. I would really want to look at these closely before proceeding with the merge. Once you've done your due diligence and you look at all the information and you feel very confident of what you need to do next, you've got three choices. Did I hear somebody, Robbie or Heidi?
No.
Okay, I thought maybe I heard someone trying to make a comment. So once you get to the end, though, of your careful analysis, then you've got three choices. The first is, if you can't tell if the merge is correct, then you click cancel. Just, hey, I've got to find more information on this. I'm not confident enough to proceed. So click cancel. That's right over here. If you know, oh, my little icon didn't show up on this, it's supposed to be a red X, you guys. So imagine that you're seeing a red X here. If you know the merge is wrong, like you've proven, hey, these people were born different times, have different parents, I have abundant evidence that they're not the same person, then you would want to click not a match. And in a minute, we're going to see how that plays out when you click not a match. And then finally, if you're sure the merge is correct, then you want to click the merge button. So I'm not going to go through cancel because that just backs you out of the merge. But if you click not a match, thank goodness Family Search is going to ask you for a reason that you know these two people are not the same. I'm a big fan of reason statements, but I'm also a big fan of simplicity. So I don't think you have to write an essay to prove that they're different. Like in this case, the big thing that stood out to me is, hey, these guys were christened 40 years apart. They can't possibly be the same person. They also had different birth dates. If I were to go back, I probably would include the birth dates here. I would say this guy was born this time, this guy was born this other time. They were christened 40 years apart. So that's, to me, is abundant evidence that these two profiles can't possibly represent the same person. If you decide they do represent the same person, then you click the merge button, and this is what you see. Here's the awesome checkbox list that I was talking about, where it lets you check the items that actually match. This is another reason to clean things up beforehand, because as I said in this tip, you only want to check the boxes if they really apply. So in other words, don't say the first names and last names match if they really don't, or don't say the christening places match if they really don't. I see people do that, but that undermines the integrity of the merge and the trustworthiness. So when people come to the change log, because you can see all this information in the change log after the merge is done, then people see that, wow, people said the names match, but I see very clearly here on the screen that they didn't, and then the trust level drops. So check the check boxes that really do apply. And this is a good time to say if only the names match, that's not a good enough reason to merge. You want to cancel and you want to find more information. And you still can cancel at this point. There's a cancel button right down here. The biggest cause of bad merges, in my experience, is a user jumping to the conclusion that two profiles are for the same person based only on the name. And so they just say, oh, John Hattersley, John Hattersley. There could only be one John Hattersley in England, so I'm going to merge them. And names are just used over and over. John Smith is an obvious example, or Diego Martinez, or whatever country you're researching in, they have their common names. But even uncommon names can be used frequently within a family. I've got a bazillion Francis Bescabys on my line. I guess they love that name, so they just keep using it over and over, both within generations and or down through generations. So if only the name matches, that's not a good reason to merge. So that was a little abrupt, huh? So this wraps up our demonstration of the new merge experience. Once you're confident that everything is right. Oh, and I meant to say, not only can you check the check boxes, you can actually put in a reason down here as well. Here's an example of what I did with that the other day. I checked the appropriate boxes, but I had also noted that the two men had the same occupation on various records. And so I put a note down there in this other reason that their occupations were the same as well. And then when you're confident that everything's the way it's supposed to be, you click submit and the merge is completed. So if you're not yet seeing the new merge experience, when you go to the old experience, there will be a banner across the top and there will be a try now button. And you can click that try now button and it will change to the new experience. Just for your peace of mind, once you change over, at least for now, and I don't know how long this will last, but Family Search is really considerate of their users, I've noticed. So at least for now, you can click try it, but there will be a way to get back. Eventually, I imagine that's going away. But Robbie, have you heard anything about a definite date for that going away? I haven't.
No definite date, but we'll be transitioning over the next couple months of encouraging people to the new merch experience. And these 2 months are the best time to give your feedback about what features are missing or what things are really driving you crazy. Because once we turn it on for everybody, then it's harder to make changes because it has other effects. So
Good
next
point.
couple months. So
Cool. Thanks, Robbie. So I would just encourage you to try this if you haven't already. Know that you've got that safety net you can get back, but hopefully the things that we've talked about today will help you feel more comfortable in trying this new experience. I've got to tell you, I wouldn't go back to the old one now. It does take a little bit of getting used to, as any change does, but I really think that once you try it, you're going to love it. So this is our last question for the webinar today. Tell us what you like or what you think you will like best about the new experience. The recommendations, the side-by-side comparison, the warnings about inconsistency, the ability to group by family or relationship, or maybe something entirely different. And feel free to pick more than one option. So that brings us to the end of the webinar. Heidi, are there any other questions that we ought to address?
I will continue to look through, so keep them coming if you do. But I wanted to bring up some comments about the webinar. So Kat says this class could be 3 hours long and we would barely skim merge problems and resolutions. Thanks for such wonderful information. Kat,
That's
that's
a
so sweet
that's
of
a
you.
Thank you. I really appreciate that, and that's a good point. That's why we have a 2-hour class at the BYU Library about cleaning up these problems. It is a complicated effort.
Thank you so much. And we'll make sure that Catherine provides the link to us so we can
Oh, yes.
drop it in the comments. Let me see. Someone else said, okay, this looks like it's a comment for you, Robbie. Those warnings are awesome, which goes to your question right now, which is what's your favorite part about the new merge experience? So it sounds like those warnings are working. Any thoughts, Robbie?
I'm glad you like them. One of my favorite parts of it is just that it's giving you a distance of how far apart these cities are, because I don't know my English geography very well, so having it calculated is helpful for me.
Yes, thank you. Okay, and any questions? Oh, Michelle says, this is a comment. I'm excited that users will have to check boxes about things that match exactly.
Yeah,
Thoughts about that?
I think it's a big improvement. So
Agreed.
That's wonderful. Okay, so final question for both of you. Okay. What is one takeaway that you hope people, all of these 700, hundreds of people that have tuned in, carry with them after having watched today's live stream in class? What is the one thing that you hope we will all remember? Catherine, let's start with you.
Okay. I would say the one takeaway that I hope above all, I mean, there's probably lots, but the one is that if you haven't tried the new merge experience, I hope that you feel more comfortable trying it. I hope it has helped you feel more confident that you can do this because I really believe that you can.
Thank you. So confidence. This is a tool that can help give us confidence that we're doing things that are right. Catherine, thank you. And how about you, Robbie? What are your thoughts?
my hope is that our patrons will see that we're committed to protecting your good research and investing in ways to keep that good research safe.
Thank you, Robbie. And it goes
Love
back
it.
to what Catherine was saying. Catherine said that Family Search cares, and that's true in every interaction that I have with, and it's not just because I work for Family Search. It really is a part of our culture. It's we really truly strive to make sure that we provide the best experience for our users. And so, uh, Robbie, you mentioned that for anyone that has feedback, where can they go to share that with you so that you, as the brains behind all of these tools and toys that help us with our family history, that you can consider that as part of your of what you do?
There in the merge experience, there's two different feedback buttons when you're actually merging somebody. One says feedback welcome. That will take you to our community page called the
Mm,
improved merge experience. If that's the best if you're wanting to have a discussion and wanting to get a response back from us.
So, Robbie, can you guys see I brought up the merge experience on the screen? So, Robbie, the one you're talking about is this one right
Yes,
here? Okay,
that one will take you to the community and we can actually have a conversation about your feedback. If you're just wanting to, if you don't want to hear back, then you can use the other feedback link, and that's just a one-way, let Family Search know something, but you won't be able to kind of clarify, we won't be able to learn what you really mean. So I
that's
prefer the
great.
blue one, but
And thanks, Robbie. I love that you are always striving to listen to what users have to say so that you can make sure it's a reflection of their needs and wants. That's beautiful.
thanks.
Robbie and Catherine, thank you so much for your time today. At one point, we had almost 800 people. And so this is incredible. It's definitely something that resonates with people, with our users, and wanting to make sure that everything is sourced and that everything is of the highest quality. And it is frustrating, right? But as you mentioned, it's something that we together can talk through, and we can come to the best conclusion of what is actually accurate. And this new tool will most definitely help us. We thank everyone for tuning in today. And just a reminder that every Thursday at 11 a.m. Mountain Standard Time, we have a special live stream like this one, ready for you, with experts like Catherine and Robbie, and who delight in just sharing their knowledge and helping you with your family history. And just a reminder for those of you that are watching, that if you're like, where can I find more of this? Because there were a lot of questions about, will this be available after? Yes, it will certainly be available after the live stream. Wherever you're watching, save the link and come and watch it later when you do have more time. But then rootstech.org is a major globally minded website and experience where you can go. It's rootstech.org, where you can go at, on your own time and your own schedule, from the convenience of your home or from wherever you're at in the world, and in different languages, to access all of this information that can help you with whatever you need. If you're looking for a specific culture, you're looking at how to use a specific tool, guys, it's all there. So thank you everyone for watching, and we hope you have an incredible week. Thank you, Robbie and Catherine. Have a
thank
great day,
you.
everyone. Bye.
Thank you.